going. Tiffany, so what are we working on today? What's up?
So we have, I'm working on a proposal for, it's an addition of a sunroom.
Okay.
But then the, I don't, so they want to cathedral it, but then there's like a weird entrance to their like spare room. And so right now you come in through the garage and you go, like there's a set of stairs that come up and then you have to walk like across. And so
Okay.
she's trying to figure out how we can like block that off and use a different entrance.
Okay.
Um, and I just don't know like how to account for that because we don't really know what we're gonna get into.
Yep. Yep.
Um,
So what's your objective? What stage of the sale are you at?
so we owe her a design agreement or a
No.
design proposal, sorry.
Okay. So in scenarios like this, and what is her budget?
She's at 150 to like 250. She wants a really nice screened in four-season room
Okay.
with cathedral ceilings, skylights, like all the bells and whistles.
Okay. So remember, guys, we never commit to price ranges beforehand. And so the real question is, can we build a sunroom? How many square feet are we looking at here?
Um, we didn't agree to any prices, by the way. That's just what she told us she wanted to
About her
spend.
budget? Okay.
Yeah.
So this is something I want you guys to I want to drive this home. This is actually really good. The sale on the budget isn't made when you're selling the design proposal. All you're trying to do is to set rough expectations. Yeah, the whole point of like, how do I say this? The design process itself is what's going to sell the homeowner in terms of what their budget is. They always come in lower than what it has to be. They said 250 is the high end. She's probably, I mean, just in my experience, they probably have 20% more behind. And so and that's why I want to know, like, what's the square footage on this room?
It's about 360 square feet.
360. Okay. So 360 square feet sounds like we're doing some structural stuff. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, and she has a budget of 250,000 divided by 360. Yeah, 700 a foot, you could build her a cathedral. So I know this doesn't help because I just want to show you guys how little thought goes into this before the design agreement. So she says her budget's 255. Then what we're going to do is we're going to tell her, hey, 150 to 250, no big deal. Just know above 200,000, you don't want to hit them for the full 8%. I would shade that down to 5% as a retainer.
Okay.
So 250,000 times 5% is
12.5.
12.5. And make sure she knows that's a retainer. Okay.
Okay.
And you bill against that retainer at 200 an hour. Make it 12.6. That way it divides evenly.
Okay.
Yep. And that any unused retainer will get credited towards her build if she selects us, right?
Okay.
And now the other thing is, who were you have a subcontract, who are you planning on doing your drafting on this?
She already has plans, but we have to get them,
So
they
this is
have to be redone.
so okay, so this is a modified design agreement.
Yeah.
Hit her at that 12.5. I'm still not budging off that because you're probably going to end up redrawing everything.
Yeah.
But again, who's going to be your architectural draftsman on this?
Paul Muldoon.
Paul Muldoon. Okay, and what
Yeah.
does Paul charge you?
He doesn't have like a set fee with us. We just show him what we're doing and he gives us a price.
Okay, if you can ask him to just tell him you're not doing this. Like, everybody's really hesitant to do this, but and it's just a trust factor. Just tell him once he gives you that number, ask him if he will give you an accounting of the time. and explain to him that you sell your design fees as a retainer, not a fixed price, because yeah, of change orders, clients changing their mind. It's not fair to him. It's not fair to you. It puts everybody in a really bad position except the client. So tell them,
Okay.
like, listen, if you want to make 7 grand, okay, we're fine with that. But let's do this on an hourly basis and send me an accounting of your time every 2 weeks so that I can quote unquote bill against this retainer. And that when the person does burn up the entire retainer, we can go get him more money.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yep. Got it.
Awesome. Let me know when that happens. I want to hear what, and if you need me to get on Zoom with him, I'll do it. Is he the one down in Florida?
No, he's in Harwichport. We've worked with him before and really like him. The only issue with him is I mean, I guess
Really
all
slow.
architects are kind of all slow, but he's
Yeah.
like really slow. His communication sucks.
Right.
But I don't know. We don't have a ton of options.
Well, you're gonna have to make this one work, and you're gonna have
Yeah.
to be the communicator in between. Okay.
Okay.
So the next thing is, when's Paul's next measure meeting availability?
He said he can come out anytime. He's good about that.
They all say that. Like,
Yeah.
get
I
get
can usually get him within the same week.
okay. Okay, cool. So what you're gonna do with this person, all right. So in your proposal,
Yep.
the last page of the proposal is when you're talking about your measure meeting availability.
Mm-hmm.
So this is how I want you to say that. Hey, we have what's your relationship with this person? Where did this lead come from?
She came from another client of ours, referral.
Referral. Perfect. All right. So where I would do this is, don't schedule Paul this week. Schedule him next week.
Okay.
All right. You want to give him time to think about it. Early next week, maybe a Tuesday, right?
Okay.
And what you're gonna say to that homeowner is, hey, we have this awkward hole in our schedule.
Okay.
So I have a random measure meeting available on Tuesday the 29th. But if we can't take that, I'm not going to be available until September.
Okay.
And the reason why you're doing this is you're putting a hard stop, a very elegant deadline for them to make a decision. Because if we
Okay.
don't do this at every step of the way during design, whether it's signing a design agreement or making selections, they're going to waffle back and forth. Either A, because humans that don't know how to make a decision won't make a decision. And of course they don't know how to make a decision. This is their first time buying a remodel,
Right.
right? Or B, they're 80 years old and they need a friend to talk to. Like, okay. Either way, that's not a good situation for us.
Okay.
Okay. And the other thing too, I like having measure meetings if you can, within a week, at most within 2 weeks. And the reason why is that doesn't give enough time for your average competitor to respond.
Right.
Right. The other thing I want you to do with this person, with that measure meeting, is explain to them, or when do they want this project done by?
She wants to start it she's kind of flexible by next summer, really, but she doesn't want any work being done this summer or into September.
Is there a reason for that?
This summer they have a ton of family coming in.
Okay, and she doesn't want anything in until September.
Yeah.
Now, that's a huge time frame from September to next summer. Is this just the typical, I want my house for the summer and I'm just getting ready for next year?
Yeah.
Okay, guys, Tiffany's in a vacation market. That's all about the summer. Okay, so this is what I would tell her. Hey, now if we're going to get started in September, I need to get started on the design this month. That's a true statement. And
Okay.
just tell her, and just tell her the reason. And if I can't get to it if I can't start building in September, I'm not going to be able to start building until next spring, and it won't be ready for summer.
Okay.
Right? We're creating scarcity here.
Okay. Got it.
So the chat's getting really active here. Matt says, I have the same situation on an addition and design, but definitely not a vacation market. That's funny. All right. So Matt, we're going to talk about your situation next. But guys, key takeaways here when we're selling the design agreement. Number one, the numbers aren't real. Their budget isn't real. Our forecast of costs aren't real. There's no way we're going to know until there's a design on paper, right? So we're going to sidestep that issue and just be like, okay, so you're going to set the expectations at her budget, and then you're going to go to the designer and say, this is what we want to build. This is the budget to build it. Now, if it isn't feasible, in other words, if she's wanting, you just want to do a quick feasibility test, on a rough price per square foot. I mean, there was a lot of complex stuff that was tripping Tiffany up regarding cathedraling the ceiling and changing an entrance. Those are our red line phase issues that will come out of the wash during the design phase. Do not give any thought to that right now until they've signed a design agreement and funded it. Does that make sense, Tiffany?
Yeah, just a follow-up question. So how do you, we have a lot of customers lately that are like pushing back because we'll say, oh, we'll handle that in design. We'll make sure we figure that out in design. And but they want answers now. Like her big thing too is she's worried that she's gonna have to tie into the septic, and like all these septic issues because she backs up to wetlands. And so we just said, we'll do that feasibility and design, but she's like, she really wants to know now.
So the way you break that up, when they really want to know right now, you tell her like, listen, do you want me to tell you what you want to hear, or do you want me to tell you the facts? Because there's no way for me to do this until you get your licensed architect out to answer that question.
Okay.
And so what you're going to tell her is like, listen, and just call it out. Be like, hey, I understand your concern. Is this really about committing to a project when it isn't feasible? And she's gonna be like, yeah, sure. Like, okay, well, why don't we break this up? And we'll do a $500 non-refundable feasibility. I'll get my architect out. I'll have all those answers for you. And then if you like what my architect has to say, then we'll start the design agreement.
Okay.
Does that make sense? And who wouldn't, that's serious about building, who wouldn't do that? That's cheap insurance.
Right. Okay.
Does that make sense, guys? The problem that we're solving here for Tiffany's client. So it's just like, now, if you're not sure what's going on, just ask the homeowner. When they ask a pointed question like, what's it going to cost? And, I need to know now, just after you got done explaining all the good reasons why you can't answer that right now, and that it comes out in design, just say, hey, here's my favorite phrase to that. What's behind that question? Could you help me understand what's behind that question? Right? And then they're going to tell you what the real fear is. And then from there, guys, don't get overly stuck on process of, oh, I need to close a 5-figure design agreement so Lane doesn't make fun of me. Like, no, right? Seriously, solve the problem right there. She needs to know about, serious design issues that we can't answer right now, nor do we want to answer because we're not, because she's not a client yet. So let's turn her into a client. A single site visit, pull an architect out. Even if the architect charged you for his time, it wouldn't be more than $250 for an hour of his time on the site visit. Great. You just picked up 250 to answer a question. Cool.
Okay.
Drew, Chris, what do you guys think?
Yeah, I think it's really important too, like to I think it almost adds to your credibility in a way if you're not willing to spend a bunch of free time answering their questions, because it's like in some situations it's like maybe it's sort of like what's free advice worth, like what you paid for it,
What you paid for it. That's right.
kind of thing. So I think if you can add that to the vibe of it, of being like, hey, like we're professionals, we're not here to just dance around like a monkey for you,
yeah,
and answer all your questions.
Yeah, Tiffany, the best way to say that is, listen, the unethical thing to do here is for me to tell you what you want to hear to win the project, and then for us to find out that it's going to cost 50% more. And at that point, you're in too deep. You hate me, but I'm still going to get the money. Right. And like we call that, and then tell her, like, we call that contractor games. And my business exists to put them out of business.
Right.
Right. And so guys, in that scenario where it's a complex project, homeowner has pointed questions that affect budget. It's going to require a significant amount of time on your part. And if there's a chance that they may not go forward, then your play is to charge them a $500 non-refundable deposit, or $1,000, whatever you want to make it. Just it's non-refundable deposit against the design agreement. And once we get those answers, if they still want to go through the project, then we credit that money towards their design retainer. Does that make sense? Cool. Brent, what do you think, man? Or Matt, you said you had a similar situation. What's going on?
It's not a big deal to me because it basically fills out the end of my year, which is generally a tougher time to do. So they love their deck and they don't want to basically start building the addition until like the deck season's over, which is basically September, October. So it's fine for me.
Yep.
I have a project in design for before that will kind of fill up space. So but that I had the same situation. They're like, oh, we don't want to start till after we stop using our deck. I'm like, all right, no problem.
Yeah. So let's unpack that, guys. Remember, we need 4 things before the homeowner qualifies to get a design proposal from us. We need to know 4 things: budget, authority to make a decision, need, and timeline. And you actually do it in reverse order. Otherwise, you sound like Tommy Toughnuts and his Shin Fu gang of morons. But just start with timeline, right? So once they're done explaining the project, it's, hey, so when do you want this inspected, cleaned up, and ready to use? That's my favorite way to get the timeline. Because when they give you a reason, then you're going to ask, may ask why, like what's behind that date, or what's driving your flexibility. Most people don't drop 150 bands willy-nilly. I'm just curious. Just make it lighthearted, right? So when you say, hey, what's driving the decision on that date to have this done? And they say, oh, I'm just flexible, and then like push back on them, like, hey, most of my clients don't just randomly drop 150 stacks on a kitchen without a reason behind it. I'm just curious because if you got like a vacation or a big event that you're catering, or if this is a gift, I'd like to know so that I can massage my schedule to help you out. And then they'll explain why. Now, once you understand why, everything you do to structure the deal is now in order for them to get their why. Does that make sense? So now we start creating deadlines. Why? In order to get what they wanted regarding their timeline. Does that make sense, guys? And so if you need a specific start date, then use the awkward hole in my schedule or random opening. And then do the takeaway of, if we can't do this, I can't get started by then. Or does that make sense? Cool. Kyle, you're with my better half. What are your guys' thoughts? They're not listening.
I don't think Kyle's in the thing right now.
Oh, okay. No worries. Okay. So Brent, Rondell, welcome. Does anybody have any thoughts about how to push a homeowner to a decision, or how to get around the pointed questions before design phase? All good, right? Okay, let's do some role play. Let me see how many people are here. We got 10, except Kyle's not here, so we'll set up 4 rooms.
Hey, Lane, real quick, I got to roll today to a site visit. So
cool. 7 rooms.
Great call.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. All right, sign manually. Okay. We're gonna do Brent. Let's see, Tiffany. Tiffany, you still with us? Yep.
I'm here.
And Rondell. The other one we'll do Chris Chapman, Chris Lambert, and then the next one we'll do Zoom user and Matt Stevenson. All right, guys.